So today I'm going to be painting a silverback gorilla in oils, and my medium of choice is Rublev's Walnut Oil Gel. Now this is a solvent-free gel and it's an excellent medium. I really do recommend this. I'm not sponsored by Rublev, I don't know them at all, but I've heard about this product and I'm trying it out at the moment. That's what all these are. I'm testing how it behaves, how long is the drying time with different colours, how robust is the surface over time, what happens when you put other mediums on top, does it react badly with them, solvents, anything like that. I'm testing this product out because, and I'm doing such an exhaustive test of it simply because I love the way it handles. Walnut oil itself can be a little bit slippery, which sometimes is fine, but other times you want more of a drag to the brush, and that's where the gel medium comes in. It's really good, particularly for fur work. So without further ado, let's begin the silverback gorilla painting. What you might notice that I'm doing with this gorilla is a very loose block-in layer, then a little bit more detail on a second layer, and finally, and the only time where the real details go in, right at the end on a third layer. I think it's important to realise that in an oil painting, that we go from the general to the specific, and zoom only at the end, right at the end of the process, do we get to the finer hairs. If you start doing that early on, it just looks flat. What you've got to establish early on in the picture is the tonal values and the form of the animal. So that's what I'm doing initially, and then you'll notice that it gradually starts to build up in detail. Don't go for detail first. Always go for detail last. It's like your brightest brights. You save all that for the end. You do the foundation work first, and then you put those details and those brighter marks on right at the end.
Now if you look carefully to the left of the screen, you'll notice a little bit of shininess. Now what that is, the first layer has dried, and I'm now working on a second layer, and what I'm putting is what's called a couch, is a thin glaze of the walnut oil gel over the surface, just to wet it, so that the paint that I put on this layer has a nice slippery wet paint feel to it. The surface has that glide to it that I'm after, which is a very different feel than what you would get if you didn't do that and you just use the paint on top of the very dry paint. So it's a technique worth exploring if you've not done it before. It's called a couch. You just oil in a certain area that you're going to paint in, and then you'll find that everything else blends very nicely.
Well, I hope you're enjoying this video. Just a quick reminder, please don't forget, like and subscribe. It'll be really helpful and it'll help me make more of these videos for you in the future.
Now, all the time that I was painting this gorilla, I was thinking about the background. What style of background? I knew it wanted to be a jungle type of background, but beyond that, I couldn't make up my mind whether I wanted this to be a light background, almost silhouetting the gorilla, or whether I wanted it to be a dark background, allowing the light on the face of the gorilla to shine through in the painting. I had ideas initially that it would be a little bit of towards the light side, out of focus, and then I would gradually put in some darker leaves over the top, as if the furthest away part was the lightest. But maybe that wasn't a good idea. It was my initial thought, but it didn't survive to the end of the painting. And so here you see me trying out that lighter background, just very loosely painting in some leaves. I mean, I enjoy painting this type of thing, so it was fun to do. I just wanted to see how it would really look with the gorilla against that type of background. I sort of thought it had potential, and so I advanced it a little bit further, sort of refining some of those leaves on the left, developing the out of focus thing, and then I decided, no, we're in the wrong ballpark here. We've got to change this, and we've got to go with that second idea of the furthest parts of the painting being darkest, and then light. The nearer we are to the viewer, the more light it will become. And I think that was the right choice in the end. It was at this stage in the painting's progress when I was invited to be guest artist at the High Peak Artists annual event, which was held in the Pavilion Gardens. High Peak Artists are a lovely group of people, and they get together each year to have their annual event here in Buxton. And this year they were kind enough to invite me to be their guest artist. And so I spent 3 days demonstrating on how to use oil paints with walnut oil gel. I had a great time, and thank you to High Peak Artists for inviting me, and thank you to everybody who came to see me. It did actually come at a very critical time in the painting though, because it was a time when I was undecided about the direction that background was going to go in. So once I got back to my studio, I was able to concentrate fully on the task at hand. One thing I also noticed, which was annoying, was this damage here. This line, it's a scratch line. Now, that I think has something to do with the walnut gel, the properties of walnut oil gel. It wouldn't happen with something like a liquid or straight linseed oil. When those things dry, they dry very, very hard. But the walnut oil gel dries in such a way that it appears to be dry to the touch, but it's actually still quite soft, so it's easily damaged. So that's just another thing about walnut oil gel that you do need to bear in mind. The drying time is deceptive. But having said that, when it does dry properly, it's a very, very strong, resilient surface. So, you know, there's pros and cons. Walnut oil gel, yeah, I still give it the thumbs up. But you do need to be aware of, you know, its differences to other mediums. So what you see me doing here is just adding a lot of leaves that are a little bit nearer. It's like a second layer. And what I did actually, when I was doing these demonstrations in the pavilion gardens, there's a lot of trees outside. I was just going out and just looking at the way the light was playing on certain leaves and things, and I decided on this idea of a darker, further away background, and then some leaves that are a little bit nearer catching a little bit more light, and that way I felt it would introduce a lot more depth to the painting. So I'm just putting these leaves in, just making them up really. Just, I mean, you know, they are only leaves. I know they say in the field of realistic art that you shouldn't make things up. But I mean, come on, they are only leaves, so there can only be a certain number of shapes, and you know, you can apply your knowledge about where the light source is coming from and that kind of thing. So I'm just freehanding in bunches of leaves, seeing how they work. If they didn't work, I would just wipe them off and have a rethink and redo them. But actually I quite liked the way this started to develop with these leaves coming, just a couple of prominent bunches, one to the left of him, one to the right, and I thought that gave a good sense of depth, which is all I was asking of this background really. I mean, obviously the background is important, but not on an individual leaf by leaf basis. Its importance to me really was to convey a mood, an atmosphere, and to set a stage to allow the gorilla himself to come forward. That was the importance of the background. That's what really mattered. I'm aiming for it to be real enough to be believed, but not overly real as to be too distracting. It's a fine balancing act. The sort of thing that keeps me awake at night. The part I think every artist looks forward to, putting in those final details and highlights. How patient you've been with those initial layers. You've held back that strong impulse to put in all those details. And that's what makes your details count. Now is the time. Now we bring him to life, but in such a way that we don't focus on these details, we focus on him. Now he truly lives. A sentient being has emerged on the canvas. And the only question that remains is what he might be thinking about. And eventually there comes a point in every painting where you realise that you've done as much as you can do, as well as you can do it. This is the time to step back, have a long, hard look at it, realise that you've dotted all the I's, you've crossed all the T's. There's nothing more really that you can do, and so all that remains to be done is to add my signature. A triumphal moment that I always look forward to with every painting. And with that, I'll bid you farewell until the next time, and thank you for watching.